Nestled at the heart of the Je Dominion, a civilization renowned for its unparalleled advancements, stood the illustrious Sophia Academy of Galactic Sciences. This institution was more than just an educational hub, it was a sanctuary where intellect thrived and boundaries of knowledge were constantly pushed to new horizons. Imagine a place where gravity was not a force but a mere suggestion, manipulated effortlessly by advanced technologies that made everyday life seem like magic. Here, nanites swarmed invisibly, handling menial tasks before students even realized they needed doing, ensuring that minds remained unburdened by trivialities. The Academy's cafeteria served meals designed not just to nourish the body but to enhance neuroplasticity, fueling the brain with every bite. It was a world where toddlers from myriad planets solved complex equations that would leave many species in awe, their innate capabilities fine-tuned by generations of genetic optimization. Among these prodigies, however, one figure stood out as a peculiar anomaly: Charlotte Holt. Unlike her peers, Charlotte hailed from Earth, a planet still grappling with its own existential challenges, let alone contributing to intergalactic intellectual prowess. Her presence was both baffling and bemusing to the genetically superior beings around her. Charlotte's journey at the Academy was fraught with challenges. While others breezed through multidimensional calculus and quantum mechanics, she found herself wrestling with concepts that seemed to shift and change like elusive phantoms. The disparity between her cognitive speed and that of her classmates was stark, often leaving her feeling like an outsider in this temple of intellect. Yet, amidst the towering expectations and relentless pace of academic life, Charlotte clung to her resolve, driven by an insatiable curiosity and a determination to prove that sheer will could sometimes overcome inherent limitations. This narrative sets the stage for a deeper exploration into themes of perseverance against odds, the clash of cultures and intellects, and the universal quest for knowledge, a tapestry rich with potential for expansion and engagement. In the grand theater of the Sophia Academy, where brilliance was as common as air, Charlotte Holt stood out, not because of her achievements, but due to her glaring lack thereof. Her struggle against the tide of genius was not merely a personal battle, it symbolized a broader theme of underdogs challenging the status quo, a motif that resonates across cultures and stories worldwide. Unlike Emma, who glided through trans-dimensional equation stabilizers with the grace of a dancer, or John, whose bioluminescent neural patterns sparkled like constellations, Charlotte's progress was slow, painful, and often met with derision. Each day, as the holographic equations danced mockingly before her eyes, Charlotte felt the weight of expectation pressed down upon her shoulders. Her peers, especially Michael, never missed an opportunity to highlight her inadequacies. "Perhaps you should stick to simpler problems," he would quip, his voice dripping with condescension, as if simplicity itself was a concept alien to their realm of advanced thought. Yet, beneath the surface of these interactions lay a deeper conflict, one of identity and belonging. Charlotte was not just fighting against complex mathematical constructs, she was battling the very essence of what it meant to be part of a community that celebrated perfection. This internal struggle was poignantly captured in moments of solitude when Charlotte, surrounded by the hum of technological marvels, pondered her place in this galaxy of geniuses. Was it bravery or foolishness that had led her to leave Earth? Each unanswered equation was a reminder of her shortcomings, yet also a testament to her resilience. She was aware of the whispers that followed her like shadows, whispers that questioned her right to be there, whispers that doubted her ability to contribute anything meaningful. However, Charlotte's story is not one of despair but of transformation. Her journey at the Academy was akin to that of a seed planted in rocky soil, struggling against all odds to sprout. Every setback was a lesson, every failure a stepping stone towards understanding not just the complexities of quantum mechanics, but the intricacies of her own spirit. In reimagining her narrative, we see Charlotte not as a mere participant in the academic spectacle but as a pivotal character whose presence challenges the very fabric of what the Sophia Academy stands for. Through this lens, Charlotte's struggles are not just personal tribulations but emblematic of a larger discourse on diversity and inclusion within high-achieving environments. Her persistence raises questions about the nature of intelligence and success, are they solely defined by speed and efficiency, or is there merit in the slow, steady climb towards enlightenment? As Charlotte navigates the labyrinth of equations and expectations, her story becomes a beacon for anyone who has ever felt out of place, urging them to find strength in vulnerability, in power in persistence. Amidst the swirling sea of numbers and theories, Robert, a fellow student whose reputation for academic excellence was only matched by his biting wit, approached Charlotte during one of her many solitary battles with the trans-dimensional equation stabilizers. His arrival was heralded by the soft tap of his fingers against the holographic interface, a sound that usually indicated another round of mockery. However, today, his demeanor was different, subdued, almost contemplative, as he observed Charlotte's relentless struggle with the flickering equations. "Let me guess," Robert began, his voice unusually gentle, "you're wrestling with the Zerian inversion theorem?" He arched an eyebrow, a hint of his usual smirk playing on his lips, but his eyes held none of the malice she had come to expect. Charlotte, caught off guard by his unexpected civility, managed a small nod. "I mean, I'm wrestling with everything, but sure, let's pretend that's the problem," she replied, her tone tinged with a mix of sarcasm and resignation. Robert chuckled softly, his gaze lingering on the chaotic dance of numbers before them. "You know, Charlotte," he said, leaning closer, "it's kind of admirable how hard you try." His words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. For a moment, Charlotte allowed herself to believe that perhaps, just maybe, there was genuine respect behind his compliment. But then, as if remembering his role in this theatrical play of academia, his expression hardened. "Really, it is," he continued, his voice now laced with the familiar condescension. "I support your ongoing efforts to be slightly less pathetic." The surrounding laughter erupted anew, a cacophony that echoed through the lab. Professor Gyx, the six-eyed reptilian scholar who had witnessed centuries of academic brilliance, sighed heavily, rubbing his temples with one of his clawed fingers. The scene was a stark reminder of Charlotte's position, an outsider in a world that thrived on perfection and precision. Yet, amidst the humiliation and the subsequent waves of laughter, a profound truth began to crystallize in Charlotte's mind. She didn't belong here, not by the standards set by her peers, nor by the benchmarks of the academy itself. The Jarn lived for 10,000 years, their intelligence sculpted over generations of genetic refinement. The Athens processed time simultaneously in multiple dimensions, solving equations in past, present, and future concurrently. And then there was Charlotte, a girl from a backwater planet that had only recently learned how to avoid self-destruction every few centuries. Her inadequacies were undeniable, she was slower, weaker, and intellectually dwarfed by those around her. But as she sat there, staring at the equations that refused to align, a creeping sensation at the back of her mind whispered of something watching her. Something old, something forgotten. And then, just for a fleeting moment, her terminal glitched. A line of strange, forbidden text flickered onto the screen, a cryptic warning, "Do not let them remember." Charlotte blinked, and the message vanished as quickly as it had appeared. But its impact lingered, igniting a spark of curiosity and defiance within her. This encounter with Robert, though initially humiliating, had inadvertently opened a door to a deeper mystery, a mystery that intertwined her past with the very foundation of the academy itself. As she pondered the ephemeral warning, Charlotte realized that her journey at the Sophia Academy was far from over. It was just beginning. In the dimly lit confines of the research lab, after most students had departed, Emma Shen found herself drawn to the forbidden allure of restricted files. Known for her insatiable curiosity and a knack for bypassing security protocols, Emma wasn't just any student, she was a noble descendant of the Jarn lineage, her family's prestige granting her access to high-clearance databases. This privilege, however, did little to satisfy her when faced with the daunting "access denied" warning on her terminal. Instead, it fueled her determination to uncover what lay hidden beneath the layers of secrecy. As Emma tapped her fingers rhythmically against the cold surface of the terminal, her neural lattice glowed faintly, casting a bluish hue across her focused face. The red error message flashed persistently, a challenge rather than a deterrent. Classified by order of the Universal Historical Council, it read, a statement that piqued her interest more than it deterred her. What secrets could be so significant that even she, with her extensive privileges, was barred from accessing them? Emma leaned back, her mind racing with possibilities. Okay, so what exactly are they hiding? She murmured to herself, her voice barely audible above the hum of the lab equipment. With practiced ease, she initiated a series of commands, her fingers dancing over the holographic interface. Layers of standard security peeled away like the skin of an onion, revealing deeper, more intricate defenses. But Emma was no stranger to such challenges. Her family's legacy included not just nobility but also a history of political espionage, and she had inherited more than just a prestigious name. As the final layer of encryption crumbled, a new file emerged, its format ancient and unfamiliar. The interface struggled to decode it, converting the archaic data into something readable. Finally, the screen revealed its treasure, a single entry, stark and unsettling, Earth Sector Z, formerly designated as Class X catastrophic species. Status obscured from galactic memory by order of the Council. Emma froze, her heart pounding in her chest. The revelation was staggering. Humanity, a species she had always considered laughably weak and insignificant, classified as catastrophic. She delved deeper, scrolling through the ancient records. The files detailed a war, a brutal conflict that defied logic and reason. Millennia ago, humans had reached the stars, unremarkable in biology and intellect compared to the great civilizations of the time. Yet, they had waged war against the most powerful species in the galaxy, using tactics that were as unconventional as they were effective. Adaptation, madness, and an utter disregard for logical limitations characterized their approach. Where other species retreated, humans dug in. Where others negotiated peace, humans exploited weaknesses. Victory, at any cost, was their creed. Emma skimmed through classified accounts of human pilots surviving impossible odds, their ships held together with duct tape and sheer stubbornness, fighting against fleets that should have obliterated them instantly. And then there was the incident, the event that had changed everything. Her fingers hesitated over the final file, apprehension gripping her. With a deep breath, she tapped the entry. The screen glitched momentarily, then settled, revealing a video feed. The footage showed a group of humans, battered but alive, amidst the ruins of a devastating battle. The landscape was a desolate expanse of ash and glass, a testament to the horror they had endured. A message scrolled across the screen, transmitted across the stars, a warning, a promise. We don't stop. We don't surrender. We don't break. Erase our name, but not our past. It won't matter because one day, we'll come back. The screen went black, but the words lingered, echoing ominously in Emma's mind. For the first time in her life, she felt a chill of fear. And then, a noise, a footstep behind her. Her heart lurched as she whirled around, and there, leaning casually against the doorframe, was Charlotte Holt. Smirking, arms crossed, looking far too amused for someone who had just been erased from history. So, Charlotte said lightly, you found out. Emma stared, her mind reeling. She had stumbled upon an intergalactic cover-up, and now, standing in front of her with that infuriating smug expression, was the human herself. Charlotte leaned against the doorframe, owning the space, watching Emma with an ease that belied the gravity of the situation. Emma swallowed, carefully schooling her features into a mask of indifference. I don't know what you're talking about, she lied, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. Charlotte arched an eyebrow, amusement dancing in her eyes. Really? Because it kind of looks like you just uncovered a conspiracy about my species. Emma quickly minimized the screen, as if erasing the evidence could somehow undo what she had learned. Just, doing some late-night reading, she muttered, trying to brush past him. But Charlotte wasn't letting her off that easily. He chuckled, following her as she stormed down the corridor. You mean important things like hacking into a forbidden archive, he teased, his tone light but probing. Emma groaned, frustration bubbling over. Fine, I hacked it. A lot, she admitted, her pride wounded but her curiosity still burning. Charlotte stopped, his expression thoughtful. You shouldn't have done that, he said softly, meeting her gaze. For the first time since she met him, Emma saw something else in his eyes, something old, something dangerous. Because the universe forgot us, he continued, his voice carrying a weight that silenced her protests. Got us. And I think it's time we reminded them. Emma swallowed, realization dawning. She had been wrong about Charlotte Holt. Dead wrong. And as she stood there, staring at him, she knew that the galaxy might soon be reminded of what it had tried so desperately to forget. As Emma stood frozen in the dimly lit corridor, the weight of the revelation pressed heavily upon her. The files she had uncovered painted a picture vastly different from the perception of humanity she had grown up believing. According to the historical archives of the JE Dominion, humans were nothing more than primitive creatures, barely capable of interstellar travel, their existence a galactic mistake. Yet, the classified documents told a different tale, one of a species so formidable that the entire universe had conspired to erase them from collective memory. The war records detailed a saga of relentless determination and strategic ingenuity. Humans had not only fought against the most dominant species in the galaxy but had also adapted and evolved in real time, turning their supposed weaknesses into strengths. Their methods were unconventional, often bordering on madness, yet undeniably effective. They had turned retreats into ambushes, negotiations into opportunities for sabotage, and survival itself into a weapon. The classified accounts spoke of human pilots surviving against insurmountable odds, their ships cobbled together with makeshift materials, yet managing to outmaneuver and outlast technologically superior foes. Emma's mind raced as she recalled specific instances from the files. There was the Battle of Epsilon Delta, where a fleet of human ships, outnumbered 10-1, had used a solar flare to disable their enemy's sensors, allowing them to strike with precision. Or the Siege of Omega Prime, where human ground forces had tunneled under fortified enemy lines, emerging behind enemy positions and turning the tide of the battle. Each account was a testament to a species that refused to acknowledge defeat, that thrived under pressure and grew stronger with each setback. The incident that had sealed humanity's fate was particularly chilling. The video footage, grainy and haunting, depicted a group of human survivors amidst the smoldering ruins of what had once been a thriving city. Their leader, a woman with fierce eyes and a voice that carried across the void of space, had delivered a message that reverberated through the ages: we don't stop. We don't surrender. We don't break. Erase our name, but not our past. It won't matter because one day, we'll come back. This declaration, broadcast across galaxies, was both a warning and a promise, a vow that humanity would return, not as conquerors, but as reminders of what they once were. For Emma, the implications were staggering. If humanity had been capable of such feats in the past, what did that mean for their current state? Were they truly as powerless as they appeared, or was their perceived weakness a facade, a strategy to remain unnoticed until the time was right? The thought unsettled her deeply. She had always prided herself on her analytical skills, on her ability to dissect and understand complex systems. Yet, here she was, confronted with a reality that defied all logic and precedent. As she looked at Charlotte, she saw not just a fellow student but a representative of a legacy that had been deliberately buried. His smirk, once annoying, now seemed charged with a quiet confidence that hinted at a much larger plan. You already knew, she stated, more to herself than to him. Charlotte nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. Yeah, he confirmed, but seeing it firsthand changes things, doesn't it? Emma felt a mixture of fear and fascination. She had always believed in the supremacy of intellect, in the unwavering predictability of the universe. Yet, here was a species that had weaponized unpredictability, that had turned chaos into a form of control. The realization shook her to her core. If humanity had been erased for being too dangerous, what did their reappearance signify? Was Charlotte part of a larger movement, a resurgence of a forgotten power? And if so, what role was she to play in this unfolding drama? As these thoughts swirled in her mind, Emma knew one thing for certain: the universe was about to get a history lesson, and she was standing at the precipice of it. The question was, would she be a passive observer, or would she become an active participant in the rewriting of galactic history? In the quiet aftermath of Emma's discovery, the corridors of the Sophia Academy seemed to echo with the weight of forgotten truths. Charlotte, with his characteristic nonchalance, leaned against the wall, his eyes reflecting a depth that belied his usual carefree demeanor. "You really think they're ready to remember?" Emma asked, her voice tinged with skepticism and a newfound unease. Charlotte shrugged, his expression thoughtful. "Not everyone," he admitted, pushing himself upright. "But enough. Enough to start asking questions, to start doubling the stories they've been told." His gaze met hers, sharp and piercing. "You've seen the files, Emma. You know what we're capable of. What we were." Emma hesitated, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. She had always been taught to value logic above all else, to trust in the supremacy of intellect and the predictability of the universe. Yet, here she was, standing beside someone who embodied the very antithesis of those teachings, a living testament to the chaos and unpredictability of humanity. "And what happens when they do remember?" she asked finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Charlotte's smile was wry, almost sad. "Then the galaxy gets a history lesson it won't forget." He paused, his eyes scanning the empty hallway as if searching for listeners. "Look, Emma, I know this isn't easy for you. Hell, it's not easy for me either. But we can't keep hiding in the shadows while the rest of the universe pretends we don't exist. Not anymore." His words struck a chord deep within her. It was true, she had spent her life laughing at Charlotte, dismissing him as nothing more than a joke, a relic of a forgotten past. But now, staring at him, she couldn't help but see the danger lurking beneath his casual exterior. He was not just a student struggling to keep up with his peers, he was a harbinger of change, a catalyst for upheaval. "And what if I report you?" she challenged, testing the waters, gauging his reaction. "What if I tell them what I've seen?" For a moment, Charlotte's expression hardened, the playful smirk replaced by something more calculating, more dangerous. "Then you'd be making a choice," he said quietly. "A choice between what you've always known and what you now suspect to be true. Between safety and uncertainty, between silence and rebellion." Emma swallowed, the implications of his words sinking in. To report Charlotte would be to uphold the status quo, to continue living in a world where humanity was nothing more than a footnote in galactic history. But to stay silent would be to embrace the unknown, to step into a future where the rules were rewritten and the forgotten were remembered. "I should turn you in," she murmured, more to herself than to him. Another beat of silence passed, heavy with unspoken tension. Then, with a sigh that seemed to release all her doubts and fears, she rubbed her temples. "Stars help me, I'm not going to, am I?" Charlotte's grin returned, warm and appreciative. "Welcome to the resistance, partner," he said, patting her shoulder lightly. "We are not partners," she snapped automatically, though the edge in her voice lacked conviction. "We kind of are," he countered, his tone teasing. "I hate you," she retorted, though the words felt hollow even as she said them. "You love me," he shot back, his laughter echoing down the corridor as he followed her retreating form. As Emma walked away, her mind raced with possibilities. Somewhere along the way, she had stopped seeing Charlotte Holt as a joke, and that realization terrified her. If she, with all her privileges and insights, could see through the facade, how long would it take for others to do the same? And when they did, what would it mean for the fragile balance of power in the galaxy? For now, the secret was safe, guarded by the unlikely alliance of a disgruntled genius and a persistent underdog. But secrets had a way of unraveling, and when they did, the galaxy would never be the same. As Emma disappeared around the corner, Charlotte watched her go, a thoughtful expression on his face. The game was afoot, and he knew that with allies like Emma, the Forgotten might just have a chance to reclaim their place among the stars. As Emma strode briskly through the shadow-draped corridors of the Sophia Academy, her footsteps echoed softly against the polished floors, a rhythmic accompaniment to the storm of thoughts swirling within her. The revelations about humanity's forgotten legacy had unraveled not just the fabric of her understanding but also the very foundations of the galaxy she thought she knew. Each step forward felt like peeling back another layer of a cosmic onion, revealing truths that were both exhilarating and terrifying. The files she had unearthed, coupled with Charlotte's enigmatic presence, painted a future filled with uncertainty and potential upheaval. The dichotomy of fear and excitement coursed through her veins, a cocktail of emotions that made her heart race with an intensity she hadn't felt before. Fear, because the implications of humanity's resurgence were monumental, posing questions about power, identity, and survival in the vast interstellar community. Excitement, because the prospect of challenging the established order, of possibly reshaping the galaxy, ignited a fire within her that she hadn't realized existed. Emma knew that the path ahead was fraught with peril, yet it shimmered with the promise of change, of evolution beyond the constraints of predetermined destinies. Reflecting on her journey from a curious student to an unwitting harbinger of potential revolution, Emma recognized a transformation within herself. Her initial disdain for Charlotte, rooted in ignorance and arrogance, had morphed into a reluctant respect tinged with admiration. He was not just a symbol of humanity's indomitable spirit but also a mirror reflecting her own biases and assumptions. This introspection was uncomfortable yet enlightening, forcing her to confront the uncomfortable truths about her society and herself. The narrative of humanity, as revealed through the classified archives, was a stark reminder of the dangers of forgetting. It underscored the importance of remembering not just the victories but also the struggles, the mistakes, and the lessons learned from them. As Emma contemplated the future, she realized that the act of remembering was not merely about recalling past events but about learning from them to forge a path that honors the resilience and adaptability that define humanity. Moreover, the potential consequences of humanity's return loomed large in her thoughts. Would the galaxy welcome them as prodigal sons or shun them as harbingers of chaos? The answer was uncertain, but one thing was clear: the status quo could not hold. The revelation of humanity's past could catalyze a re-evaluation of galactic policies, alliances, and perhaps even the fundamental principles upon which interstellar societies were built. Emma understood that with knowledge came responsibility, and she was now at the nexus of a decision that could alter the course of history. As she reached her quarters, Emma paused, her hand hovering over the door control. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenges ahead. The road to awakening was just beginning, and she was ready to walk it, armed with the knowledge that the past, no matter how obscured, always finds a way to echo into the future. With a resolute push, she entered her room, closing the doors softly behind her, ready to delve deeper into the mysteries of the universe and the untapped potential of humanity. In embracing these revelations, Emma was not just preparing to face the unknown future but also acknowledging the enduring power of memory and identity. As the galaxy teetered on the brink of rediscovery, she stood poised, ready to ensure that humanity's story would not end in obscurity but would rise again, vibrant and defiant, shaping the cosmos with the echoes of its past.